So in the last lesson, we talked about how to avoid sharing your salary expectations when they ask for them, whether that's at the beginning of the recruitment process or during your interviews or even right before they extend a job offer. But there's a chance that you didn't see that lesson before they asked you the salary expectations question and you already shared some information with them. So what do you do now? The first thing that you should do is just continue moving forward throughout the process, essentially pretending that you did not share that information. So in other words, Salary Negotiation Mastery is a playbook that you can follow to negotiate your offer. You'll get an offer from them eventually. You can counteroffer, continue to negotiate, and don't look back towards the salary expectations question. Just do everything as you would following the process that we're going to describe for you here in this program. But you may be concerned about something which is pretty common, which is, well, what if I counteroffer? It's more than the number that I said when I expressed salary expectations, and they ask me to justify that. What if they say, well, that's more than what you told us before? What do? The first thing is really something you shouldn't do, which is to fall back on market data. So it can be really tempting to say, well, I looked at these websites and I averaged out the average compensation for somebody with my years of experience in this role, and here is what tumbled out. And so that's why I said this number. The reason that I don't recommend that is that most of the companies that you're going to be negotiating with will have access to a lot more information than you do. They have a lot of private salary surveys and other information that they pay for on a regular basis that tells them exactly what's going on in the market by geographic region, by years of experience, by job title, and all that good stuff. And so they can sort of checkmate you pretty easily by saying, well, we have more data than you do, and our data says our offer is really good. Do you want it or not? So you don't want to get into a market data battle with them. Instead, what you want to do is focus on the value that you bring to the role. And so instead of focusing on market value, you would say, well, for these reasons, I think that I'm more valuable than the offer that was made. And I would like to discuss seeing if we can modify the offer to look more like what my counteroffer was. And so you can do that instead of focusing on market data. You can focus on the value that you'll bring to the role, and that could be much more effective. You can also take a look at the offer itself. There's a good chance that when you stated your salary expectations, you hadn't seen the offer. You didn't know, for example, what sort of salary equity or PTO or what the remote work policy was or what the relocation policy was or what the 401k match looked like and a bunch of other perks that you could look at. And so you could look at and find something that might be different than the industry standard or even different than you expected and say, well, that was before I saw the offer. Now that I've seen the offer, I think that I would like it to be more like what my counteroffer is because these things in the offer are not quite what I thought they would be. So that can also be a nice fallback if they ask you to justify why your counteroffer is more than what your salary expectation statement was. So those are some ways that you can back out of having shared your salary expectations. And like I said, most of the time you can just move forward through the process as though you never said anything and just continue negotiating and only worry about justifying if they specifically ask you to justify, which they often will not do. So I hope this is helpful if you already shared your salary expectations, and I'll see you in the next lesson.